Okay, welcome to this lecture on how to determine your drawdown. Now, what's a drawdown? Is the percentage of reduction of capital as a result of losing trades. So particularly when you have a losing streak. Now, how do you calculate your percentage drawdown? You take your loss divided by your initial capital times 100. Percentage ROI to break even. You take your loss divided by your current capital times 100. Now let me give you an example. Let's say you decide to deposit $10,000 today, and this is your initial capital. And let's say, for example, you forget to put your stop loss. Then all of a sudden, your account went from $10,000 to $5,000. Now this is a 50% drawdown. How do you calculate this? You take your loss, which is 5,000, divided by your initial capital, which is 10,000, which gives you a 50% drawdown. Okay, remember times 100 also. In order to make it back to 10K, now that you're 5K, is it still 50%? The answer is no, because you need a higher ROI than 50% to make it back to $10,000. So how do you calculate your percentage ROI to make it back? You use the formula just now. Percentage ROI to break even. Your loss divided by current capital. So your loss, again, same thing, is 5,000. Then your current balance, current capital, is 5,000. So 5,000 divided by 5,000 times 100 is equal to 100% ROI. Imagine how long that's going to take you to make it back to initial capital. So that's why I always tell traders to keep your maximum drawdown to a certain level, that even when you experience a losing streak, you can still make it back to initial capital. So do you want your maximum drawdown to be 50%? Not so much. Because 100% ROI, it might take years for you to make it back. So let's say we look at all the drawdowns and the ROI required to break even. If I have a 10% drawdown, if you calculate the ROI to break even, you only need 11% to make it back to initial capital. Whereas for 20% drawdown, you only need 25% to make it back, which is okay, still achievable. When you have 30% drawdown, ROI required to break even, 43%. You realize that as the drawdown increases, the amount of ROI to make it back to break even increases also. Correct? You see the difference between 10% ROI and ROI required to break even, 11 minus 10%, only 1% difference. But when you go to 20%, there's a 5% difference. As you go to 30%, there's a 13% difference. And just now, our example is 50%, right? So you need 100% to make it back. When you have a drawdown to 9%, you gotta forget about this account. You gotta top up, because 900% is gonna take forever to make it back. So what is the maximum drawdown that we should take as a trader? It is 30%. Anything higher than that would be very hard for us to make it back. So during the 2008 financial crisis, a lot of the traders, hedge fund managers who were greedy, who didn't follow the risk management plan, they had a drawdown of more than 50%. And that would be very, very hard for them to make it back. Right? Whereas the top traders during that time, they stick to a minimal drawdown. So it's easy for them to make it back. So that's why risk management is so important. In fact, more important than your technical trading strategy. Because the more you lose, the harder it is to make it back to initial level. That's why it's so important to see yourself as a risk manager rather than a trader. When you take care of risk, okay, you'll be profitable in the long run. Because you have way more discipline as compared to other traders who take excessive risk and get burned by the market. So this is a lecture about drawdown, and hopefully you can keep it to a maximum of 30%. And you'll be fine.